All right, so the previous episode, we talk about, we previewed the Knicks and the Cavs. We talked about March Madness bracket, and then Cowboys wants answers of Pickens after he placing on franchise tag, and then are the Spurs for real, and then the Max Crosby and AJ Brown situation as uncertain futures. So, what's in store today on JDB's Morning Cap? We said good morning. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Today is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. March is around 4 days. March is 4 days away. So we are looking forward to that. As the talk show develops here. So we are really excited about that. So let's see if we can get this. We can get through this here. All right, let's start. Let's start with the association. What took place last night? The Cleveland Cavaliers squared off the New York Knicks in Cleveland, as the Cavaliers dominated the Knicks in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell led the way with 23 points. James Harden had 20. In a 109-94 win over the Knicks. However, Knicks do take the season series from the Cavs 2-1. So the tiebreaker stays at the Knicks based on head-to-head win percentage. Cavs will stay in the number 4 seed. So the Cavs have the same record, 37-22, as the Knicks. So let me ask this question. Why the Knicks have the same record as the Knicks? Because the third seed is still edged to the Knicks because they won the season. Knicks won the season series over the Cavs 2-1. They won the first 2 games in the season series. Both games were in New York. That was the reason why. But let's talk about last night's game. What the Cavs transpired in last night's win. But the Cavs, the biggest story last night's win, it's been defense. They held the Knicks just 94 points. But the Cavs offense, overall, the Cavs only shot just 43% from the field. But the Cavs did held to 41% from the field to the Knicks yesterday, and they held to 27% from long distance. So the defense was the big story. Donovan Mitchell did not shoot the ball great. Despite he scored 23 points, he only went 5 for 18 shooting. James Harden scored 20 points, four made 3-pointers. But the big story is Jarrett Allen. He had 19 points and 10 boards and 2 blocks. So we know the Cavs, they didn't shoot the ball great at times, but they have made big shots. The only thing is Cavs held the Knicks to 11 points in the third quarter because the Knicks were inability to buy a basket. I mean, those situations you're really gonna have. Is a static issue against you, but the Knicks have struggled to shoot the basketball over the last few games. The Cavaliers are 2-1 since the break. They're 8-1 in the month of February. They've won 8 of their last 9. All have been in February this month because their defense started to believe themselves. So I think if Cavs want to be a top 3 in the East, they got to start winning. So they're actually right there at the end of the process. So I think Donovan Mitchell and otherwise, they will really love to have this back if that's the case. If they really make their own difference, then you would have been fine. It is really hard to stand things up and change that moment. But it's good though. There's no way you can mess around. So Cleveland, they can overtake the number 3 seed with a win today because the Cavs play the Bucks tonight on the road. Second night of the back-to-back before they head to Detroit on Friday. So as long as they can get it done, it's a huge difference. So I believe if Cleveland wins today, like I said, they overtake the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Cavs don't have a tiebreaker right now because the Knicks have a head-to-head tiebreaker with the Cavs. The Knicks, like I said, Knicks win the season series 2-1. So half playoffs started today. Then the Knicks will earn the number 3 seed in the East. So see how it plays out. Speaking of the Knicks, let's talk Knicks for 8 straight minutes. The Knicks are 1-2 since the All-Star break. Actually, I'm wrong. The Knicks are 2-2 since the break because the Knicks have played a back-to-back since the break. They lost to the Pistons. They beat the Rockets. They beat the Bulls. Lost to the Cavs. They'll play the Bucks on Friday on the road. Then head back home against the Spurs to start the month. So, Knicks will be the number 4 seed if the Cavs win tonight. But the season isn't over yet. There's still time to get some spots. The Celtics won last night without Jaylen Brown. We just saw that. The New York Knicks, they're still number 3 seed for the time being until whoever wins tonight's game. The only way they can hold on to number 3 seed, they need the Bucks to beat the Cavs. So, if the Knicks beat the number 4 seed by the end of the year, they will have to face Toronto. I mean, the Knicks had success against Toronto in the regular season. So, and then you don't have success against Detroit in the regular season. That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking. About last night's game, the Knicks shot 41% from the field. Jalen Brunson struggled, 6 for 19 from the field. Josh Hart, 4 for 11. OG Anunoby, 2 for 9. Mikal Bridges, 6 for 17. The only guy who shot well, he only had 5 attempts. Karl-Anthony Towns, he went 5 for 5. And he went 14 points and 7 rebounds. But he had 5 turnovers. So the New York Knicks they just haven't played their best basketball since the break. They're just 2-2 since the break. Those stretches will be tested for the Knicks. When I look at their schedule, after Milwaukee on the 27th. Here's the March schedule. They'll play the Spurs at home. They'll play the Raptors on the road. They'll play the Thunder at home. They play Denver on the road. They play the Lakers on the road. They play the Clippers on the road. They play the Jazz on the road. And then they're at Indiana. Lengthy road trip for that. And then Knicks will be home against the Warriors, Pacers. They're at Brooklyn. And then they're back home against Washington, home against New Orleans. They're at Charlotte. Charlotte's been red hot. And then they're at Oklahoma City on the 29th of March, at Houston to wrap up March. And then in April, they're at Memphis, then back home against the Bulls. They're at Atlanta, and then they're home for the Celtics on April 9th, home for the Raptors on April 10th, then home for the Hornets to end the season on April 12th. So those are the stretches for the Knicks. Is so critical. This is a critical stretch for the New York Knicks. If they don't get this done, then they could be the number 4 seed, or they could be down to either as 5th or 6th seed. Depends on either of these strength of schedules between the Raptors and the 76ers. And don't count out the Magic. Magic had a big win last night against the Lakers, 110-109. So the Eastern Conference continues to creep up down the stretch. Who will be the top 3 in the East? New York still has a tiebreaker with Cleveland because of a head-to-head. They won 2 out of 3. The Knicks, they don't play until Friday in Milwaukee to play the Bucks. So they got a couple of days of rest to figure things out. They're just, like I said, The Knicks are 2-2 since the break because the offensive efficiency since the break, which is 22nd in the NBA since All-Star. They're not getting consistent shots. They're not making consistent shots. It's been an issue, man. It's been an issue. It is really hard to execute themselves. If that's the case, there's not a lot you can worry about it. But you got to make a huge difference in this one. So there's nothing you can really tell things to do that. It's changeable. There's something else you need to wake him up and get up in the morning. You would have stepped up. You would have stepped up to the plate. That's a different story right now. All right, coming up. What's coming up in our JDB's morning cap? Let's see what's going on. We have NFL rule changes. See what's going to happen. Also coming up, Thunder squares off the Pistons. Battle at Motor City. We'll preview that game tonight. And then we'll talk about the American League East team has a chance to win the World Series. We'll step away. All right, welcome back here. Let's get to the NFL here. So right now, the NFL is changing some rules. Also about the stuff or create more replay assist as far as penalties. So right now the NFL is mulling to allowing replay officials to throw flags. So what that means that if the call had not been made earlier, then they can expedite review to see if the penalty would have took place. So if they so if let's say if they looked at this, so if the new rule has changed, then they'll have to think about it. So you gotta take like 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds to make a decision whether or not you can throw a flag. The clock has to stop. The game clock and play clock has to stop whether or not there's a potential incident or otherwise. So let's just say all this. How about the fourth down alternative onside kicks? So instead of get a regular onside kick, you can use a 4th down and 13 or 15 play. You can choose that way. You can choose your way as far as onside kick. And then you got the touch push situation, aiding the runner. Just like the person is assisting, so it's called, let's say it's called illegal aiding the runner. Let's say the offensive player will try to force another offensive player to walk in for a touchdown. Then they can see the replay. Should they be a penalty for this? Yes, they should be. Aiding and running is illegal. In college, it is illegal as well. So if this is passed, then this is a huge call to make. So this is a critical call to make because this is a situation you're really going to get. This is a really difficult time to handle this. You already handled this situation. That's the first step. You handle the situation really, really well. The replays, the flags. I think the officials will have to rework because this offseason they just need to provide the replay officials need to provide some spark. To ensure that there are no issues on the field or off the field. This is the replay you don't want to miss. So, if that's the case, then you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming because this is an issue over the years, controversial calls and all that kind of stuff. We've seen that multiple times. Missed calls. The calls are being made that should not be made. The catch, no catch rule. We talk about either as a catch or interception. Remember, McMillan had an interception when Brandon Cooks tried to catch it, and then he lost possession in the AFC divisional round between the Bills and the Broncos. That helped the Broncos got the win. I don't care if it's simultaneous catch or not. It's a prayerless result. I mean, they got to make some moves as far as rule changes. I mean, I'm just saying, they got to make some changes as far as rules, new rules. Because you feel like we're going to stay the same and there's no movement. Specifically, they need to make some more money. If there's a rule change, it's going to cost a bunch of dollars. MLB did their part this offseason. MLB has done their part this year. So NBA is going to do their part next year as well. So the rule changes is going to be it's going to be a serious tax. Because of that, it could cost dollar bills. So they say the officials could allow replay officials to throw flag for non-football acts if the player is unpenalized on the field. So if there's a severe altercation, then the flag wasn't thrown, then the replay official will step in and they'll throw a flag. And who was the instigator? And then if there's an instigator, then the player could face severe consequences. So they could face potential consequence. All right, so coming up, Thunder will score off the Pistons in Motor City. We'll preview that game tonight, and then we have the American League East team trying to win the 2026 World Series, and then what's next for Trent Williams? So it's coming up right after this. All right, welcome back here. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder take on Detroit Pistons. Thunder currently has the best record in the NBA with a 45-14 record. Pistons with a 42-14 record. Best record in the East. So let's see how this plays out here tonight. The game is in Detroit, Michigan, Little Caesars Arena. Tip-off begins at 7:30 Eastern. You can see on ESPN, along with the Celtics at the Nuggets at 10 Eastern. So ESPN doubleheader. So now let me ask this question about these two teams. Do you think that the Pistons deserve a championship opportunity, or do you think Kate Cunningham is the only person qualifying in the NBA awards? So the 65-game rule continues to loom large. So let's take option 2 first, and then we'll get to option 1. I think Kate Cunningham is probably the only eligible man to win the MVP. But if you can add Jaylen Brown and whoever's left over, whoever average higher points a game than the player who isn't eligible to qualify for awards will have to end up being stuffed. But Kate Cunningham is a heck of a player than that. So in that difference right there, the way it should matter the most. If we make our own difference, it's not a problem. Then you earn yourself a shot. If you earn yourself a shot, then they would have some deciding factors to go with it. And it worked all out. If it worked all out, then it's a changeable. The Detroit Pistons is the best team in the East because it felt like this team would deserve it. I think the Pistons deserve a championship opportunity because Jalen Durant, Kate Cunningham, Tobias Harris, Duncan Robinson, Azir Thompson, they all stepped up. They all stepped up because I believe this team could get to the finals and earn its trust. If you earn your trust, then this is a big difference for them. So then you gotta trust one player to another. We know who we know this team will help to be really consistent, and it could really help. One thing that this team knows how to play a good brand of basketball. If that's the case, then then there's not much you can really worry about. I think Detroit has a chance to be one of the best teams in the NBA. And that's what really happened there. Meanwhile, for the Thunder, they come off a win yesterday in Toronto. Today's the second night of the back-to-back. The Thunder has the best record in basketball with a 45-14 record. Despite, like I said, despite the injuries, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's still out with a dominant injury. Hopefully, he comes back as soon as possible. If he does come back, to avoid an ineligible but there's a decent update for SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is getting close of coming back. That doesn't mean he's upgraded to questionable tonight. That doesn't mean that. He's getting close. But SGA is on the brink of not qualifying for the awards. According to you must play 65 games, and you must miss no more than 17 games in a season. That's the ruling. The player must play at least 65 games. You must play at least 65 games. You have to miss 17 games or less. If you don't follow those rules, you can't qualify, because let's say if you miss 26 games this year and you only played around as far as 65 game rule is concerned, like I said, if you miss 26 games, and you only played 56 games, then you're roughly 9 games short, or you're roughly 11 games short of qualifying of awards. You only play 56 games. Let's say the player, let's say the player plays 56 games and you miss 26 games. That's a lot. That's a lot of games missed, but not a lot of games that you played. But I believe 65 game rule is going to stand because of the health. I mean, there's no way the Thunder you can take away from. So, I mean, this is a golden opportunity to make these guys work. If that's going to be the serious case for them. So if we really want to say this, then you there's no way you can really worry about this. If that's going to be the case right now. So with that being said, the player must play 65 games. But SGA, hopefully he comes back soon. He needs to be back before the end of this month. I know how critical is it. So I mean this is a serious situation. So we need to give him back. We need to give SGA back, give him an opportunity to do it. So let's switch gears here. Like I said, Thunder come off a win yesterday against Toronto. Today they play the second night of the back-to-back. The only guy who's been stepping up this season other than SGA is Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren is having a pretty good year. All-star for the first time of his career. I mean, he's done it. He's done everything that he contributed. But Chet Holmgren has gone from length of injuries to become an all-star and a one-time NBA champion. Chet Holmgren was drafted to the Thunder in 2022. He sat out the entire 2022-23 season. But in 2023-24 season, first year, he went through some ups and downs. He had some good games. He struggled. Second year, well, he did play 82 games. And then Holmgren played just 32 games last year. Shooting percentage wasn't quite as great as it was. But he's shooting over 35% from downtown. It's not that bad. But he's known for his defense. So that would step the foot into this plate. That it would be. But this is a different story now. So I think Chet Holmgren has played as well as it is like it to be. So they can pull this off here. So for Chet Holmgren this season, he's averaged 17 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, shooting 55% from the field, which is pretty good numbers for Chet Holmgren. Hopefully he continues to focus on his game down the stretch of this season and in years to come. So for the Pistons and Thunder game, who do you think I'm going to go for tonight? Pistons or Thunder? I'm going to go with the Pistons winning tonight in Detroit. So hopefully they can get the best record in basketball back. Because Pistons, they need to play. They're going to play a lot of games down the stretch, including a handful of back-to-backs. So I pick Pistons winning tonight. That's going to be that. All right, so coming up, we'll talk. The American League East team is trying to win the 2026 World Series. We'll find out who that is. And also coming up, what's next for Trent Williams? Because his future is going against him. So the future list is on Trent Williams. We'll step away. All right, welcome back here as the New York Yankees trying to step things up here last year in 2025. They finished the season 94-68, which is tied for first place, but the Blue Jays took the tiebreaker based on head-to-head win percentage against their own division. But the Yankees end up losing 3 out of 4 in the ALDS against Toronto. Let's see if Aaron Judge did win back-to-back MVPs for the first time of his career. So let me ask this serious question: how the New York Yankees can rejuvenate and try to win the World Series in 2026? Well, the lineup for the New York Yankees is going to be pretty good. I believe this is a veteran-heavy lineup for the New York Yankees. I'm saying they're great on paper. The lineup is going to be great on paper. So if you project to be a starting lineup, some could make the team. So how's this going to pan out? So here's a potential projecting starting lineup for the New York Yankees. Number 1 is going to be Trent Grisham. He'll play center field. Aaron Judge, a 3-time American League MVP, second, plays right field. Cody Bellinger, 2019 most valuable player of the National League with the Dodgers. He's in left field. Ben Rice, first baseman, batting cleanup, which is number 4. DH is Giancarlo Stanton, batting fifth. Jazz Chisholm Jr., second baseman, bats sixth. Then the bottom of the order is Ryan McMahon, third baseman, batting seventh. Jose Caballero, shortstop, bats eighth. Austin Wells will catch. He'll bat number 9. So, who's left out? Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt is left out of the opening day starting lineup. Well, unless there's guys who star on the injury list, but Ben Rice is the first baseman. He also can catch too. He's a catcher as well. So the instincts are going for him. Here are the projecting starting rotation. Garrett Cole expect to return. We have Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Luis Hill expect to be back. Clark Smith expect to be back. Cole, Hill, and Smith have dealing with injuries last season. So this is the situation you really want to make here. Who is the dark horse for this Yankees lineup? I'm going to say Spencer Jones. I think he's a talented young man. I believe he deserves an opportunity. That doesn't mean he's going to get a lot of playing time. I think Spencer Jones will have a pretty good chance to make this team, because I think if the Yankees want stability in their lineup with guys being out with injury, then there's a pretty good chance that they could be in this one. They could be special. How about the bullpen? So with David Bednar, so here's the question. Here's the situation right here. So let's talk about some notable bullpen guys: Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill, Ryan Yarbrough, Paul Blackburn, Caden Winquist, a World 5 draft pick. Meanwhile, the closers are high leverage setup man, Camilo Duvall and David Bednar. There's some competition. Who's the favorite to become the full-time closer? But Aaron Boone doesn't have a closer by committee. I mean, he could have a closer by committee. Who's more efficient, Bednar or Duvall? I mean, both Bednar and Duvall had some bad lucks at times, but they're both talented. They're both talented closers. But whoever has a pretty good spring training becomes a full-time closer in 2026. I think David Bednar will be favored to become the closer of the New York Yankees. Losing Luke Weaver and Devin Williams is actually not a bad thing. Luke Weaver was pretty good. Devin Williams struggled all year last year. I mean, those are the bullpen depth. It's going to change it out. It's going to change out for some reason. Because of this, it regards the same issue. It is regarding the same issue because of that. So if that's the case, then it won't be significant at all. I wouldn't change this. Because of that, you made the situation a whole lot better. So, can the Yankees win the World Series with this talented roster? I believe they could. Because as long as they're healthy, as long as they don't send guys to the IL, then they can win more games. If they place more than 2/3 on the injury list, if you had two thirds of the player out, then they can't get to the World Series. In fact, they may not make the postseason, despite the high expectations. I think they could still get through this, and someone had to step up and all that kind of stuff. So, let's say the Yankees, as far as projecting win totals, Yankees have won 94 games last year. They lost 68 of them, but they failed to win division. They said they expect to win around 87 to 91 games. So they say 91 and a half wins for the Yankees. So should I take the over or the under this season? Well, I mean, technically, I'll take the over. 91 and a half wins. Because look at the rest of the AL East contenders. You got the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, and the Rays. But the strong contenders is the Red Sox, Orioles, and Blue Jays. They're all strong. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays are stronger contenders. Orioles and Rays both missed out last year because they have their disappointing years. All right, coming up, we'll talk Trent Williams' future, and then we'll wrap things up. We'll step away in 3 minutes. All right, welcome back. Let's get this talk show started. All right, so Trent Williams of the San Francisco 49ers. Our future is uncertain right now. Will Trent Williams reach the deal, or will he be released? So the question right now, what's going to happen? What is likely going to happen to Trent Williams? Will he sign an extension, or there's a chance he gets released altogether? Well, I can't answer this question yet. But, however, I do like the fact that Trent Williams, he's a talented, good offensive line. He got to a Super Bowl. He worked with Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pasco. I mean, they work all these guys. But this is the situation you really don't want to miss. And it is really tough to hold it down. Because of that, this is a golden opportunity to pull things out. Now, you have one guy who can really step up. And Trent Williams is 37 years old. He is a veteran piece of this offensive line. And we talk about Brock Purdy and all that kind of stuff. We talk about George Kittle. We talk about Jawan Jennings. as well. But is there anything else you can really learn from it? Yeah. The 49ers are just searching for answers. But this is a situation you do not want to miss. But it is really hard to understand this time. But there's not much you can pull through. The but it if I was saying, I'm gonna ask this question. Should they sign Trent Williams or should they walk? Should he walk? Which means he's moving on. Well, my first thought, I can't answer this question yet. My second thought, I'll answer it right now. I believe Trent Williams might walk. If he does walk, there's a chance he could retire or release or go to the other teams. But I said Trent Williams is going to walk because reportedly they don't have enough money to re-sign him. So there's a chance to release. So they got 1 to 2 weeks to decide whether or not they keep Trent Williams in San Francisco. So this is a golden opportunity to time to shine. So it's really tough to hold it down. It's really tough to hold things down right now. It is a whole world. You gotta beat you like the whole world to see. And maybe the 49ers will have their differences, and then you're going against them. So if the Niners do decide to release Trent Williams, then what could be next for the San Francisco 49ers? What could be next for the San Francisco 49ers? I mean, this is a different situation now. This is a different situation. You're going against it. But when that happens, there's not a whole lot you can say. There's not a whole lot you can say, something to say about that, about Trent Williams. So right now, I believe Trent Williams may walk and move on to another team because John Lynch is still trusting Trent Williams if he can stay in San Francisco for the next season, just for the next season or the next 2 years. This is a different. They got to make a really difficult decision. It is really hard to figure things out, and you think it's best for the team and best for this opportunity. Yeah, you can say that wherever you want. Let's talk 49ers other than Trent Williams for the next 3 minutes. We've just been talking about they're going to assure their acquisitions. We know Brock Purdy has extended his contract. The good news is they did bring Kwesi Adolfo Mensah back after he was fired from the Vikings front office organization. After the Vikings and Packers game, it was he was fired during the playoffs when the Vikings missed the playoffs. They had a winning record, by the way. So bringing Mensah back is actually a good thing. Try to help to get their roster consistently. And the Brandon Ayuk's future is still uncertain. He hasn't played for quite some time. And it's really tough. It's really tough to see that. So the Niners need to add someone this offseason. I mean, they just lost Robert Saleh to the Tennessee Titans head coach. That's a tough move to make. I mean, the Niners defense struggled to generate pass rush. They struggled with defensive injuries like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Both were injured most of the year. Hopefully they can bring these guys back in shape so that it could really help their cause. So the way it turns out, you put yourself in a really, really bad situation. And that's why I'm hoping. That's why I'm hoping for it. Hold on a second. All right, that's going to do it. What's coming next episode? We'll recap Pistons and the Thunder, Nuggets and the Celtics, and all that stuff. We'll talk more NFL. This is JDB's WarCap. Enjoy your day.